Good morning. I slept in a little bit. It's not that late. It's 7 o'clock. Definitely gets lighter now. A little earlier. I just kept waking up all night long and falling back asleep. Got some good sleep, and I guess I needed it. So I'm just here putting everything away. Had my bear can. Eating the rest of these potato chips. And these donuts were all gone yesterday. But I filled them with lemon cookies, so I'm eating lemon cookies and potato chips for breakfast. It's so good. But getting ready to head out now and conquer the day and conquer some summits to put in the bag.
Well, that's a trash can. You don't see that very often out here. Little pull out, crossing the Blue Ridge Parkway once again. This is Punch Bowl Mountain overlook. Punch Bowl Mountain there. Look at these beautiful greens this morning. Wow. Absolutely stunning. Just gets greener every day right now. So beautiful. Even up there where there's not much green. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Come back to here, to the overlook. Stunning. It just keeps getting greener every time I wake up from the night before. My eyes get puffier and nature gets greener. Loving this. I will walk 800 miles. The first 800 miles of my Appalachian Trail thru-hike for myself and osteoporosis is in the bag. Here's the beautiful forest. My current office. Doing a little up and downs on the ridge right now. Haven't started getting to that first mountain yet to climb up there, but we'll be soon. Beautiful views here, beautiful greens. Love this type of forest. The dark, long bark on the trees reaching up to the skies. It's gorgeous. Oh yeah, and the Cruisy trail. That's also a plus. Feels like you're walking on carpet. Not gonna complain about that at all. Oh, look, a suspension bridge. Yay. You all know how I feel about these. I'm not afraid of them. I don't fear them, but I don't like them. Not a big fan. Mainly because, you know, it makes the ground move below me. It gives me that weird feeling. Makes my balance get off, equilibrium get off. Get a little lightheaded. So I have to just go super slow. This one looks pretty sturdy, so I'm not too worried about it. Just gonna go slow over it. The river below it is quite shallow and it's not very high above it, so it's nothing like the one I did on the PCT last year that had me about peeing my pants. Oh my goodness, that was nerve-wracking. I was going so slow it looked like it was being held up by 2 pieces of thread or something. It was moving everywhere. This one's nowhere near as bad. Here, I'll show you the top here. Actually, I'll try to run the camera as I'm going across. Sometimes I can't do that, though, because I start shaking too much. or my body starts bouncing up and down, however you want to say it. And then I put the camera away because my balance gets off. It's not too bad at all though, plenty to hold on to and everything, so should be all right. Let's do it. It's swaying left and right and creaking. Now it's bouncing up and down. And there's a little bit of lightheadedness, but it's okay. Wasn't that bad at all this time. It didn't move much. Some of those get rocking pretty bad. Hey, look at that. I was even able to keep the camera on the whole time. All right. Woohoo! Suspension bridge done. Back to unmovable ground. Well, unless there's an earthquake. There's a cable to hold it up. You laugh that I say that. Oh, wow, now I feel weird walking on ground that's not moving. But last year, man, I forget the name of the town right now that I was close to, but I was surrounded by a bunch of mountains that were made up of boulders in the desert on the PCT. And I woke up in the middle of the night to the earth shaking. And I'm like, what in the world's going on? I was laying on my belly in my tent. I'm like, what in the world's going on? It's like, it feels like something's tickling my gut. And it was, sure enough, a 3.6 earthquake that happened at 3:41 in the morning. I remember I wrote the time down because I wanted to make sure that I checked on it next time I had a signal. So the PCT last year gave me all kinds of experiences. I had never camped outside during an earthquake before. And I remember thinking, wow, it's a good thing those boulders didn't start falling down because I would have had nowhere to run. All right, looks like climbing up the hill now. There's gonna be some water up here in like a reservoir or lake or something. And then start climbing that first mountain of the day, which is kind of a late start. I mean, not a late start of the day, but for that first mountain, I think it's about 10 miles in before I even start climbing it. So I'll have a lot of miles before climbing, but then it's boom, boom, boom. Several summits in a row. Good morning, everyone. Oh, wait, we already did that. Well, it is technically still morning, but I've been going at it for a minute. Getting closing in on 7 miles for the day. Really hasn't been too much to write home about. Only about 700 feet of elevation. That's going to change as I have a couple of mountains here I'm going to start climbing anytime now. Kind of wraps around the reservoir and has some... I'm sorry. It distracted me the way I just said reservoir. I always say reservoir, and for some reason I said reservoir. Sounding all highfalutin and stuff. But there's some water sources around there. I do need to get some water. I'll probably get a little snack and then push on up those mountains. But just past a few hikers coming the other direction. I do have some hikers around me that I keep running into. I wouldn't say at this moment it's Tramley or anything, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's just Tramley that doesn't see each other very often. But we run into each other, you know, every day or every couple days here for the last couple weeks or so. Pretty much since I left Perrysburg. You know, because I got a little bit behind, and I guess most of them were behind me by a day or two or three. But it's cool to run into the same people, going on the same journey. A few of them slack pack. And what I mean by that, they'll go to a town, and then when they get to the town, instead of taking a 0 or something, they'll take their 0, I guess if you want to call it that, and then they'll go up 10, 20 miles, and then slack pack backwards. Slack packing is when you're basically taking the weight out of your pack. So obviously they're making it kind of like a day hike on their day off, and doing that. That's not my style, but more power to them, because that obviously keeps them moving even on their days off. Makes it a little easier on the legs and back to where, you know, they can recoup and everything. So I run into, you know, a couple of them doing that. And like I said, there's absolutely no judgment here. Each their own. They're still doing all the miles. They're still doing all the hills. They're just kind of going back and forth on their days off. So once every week or whatever. Each person does it a little differently. I can't do that because, come on now, I put all my summits in the bag. My backpack is named in the bag. there's supposed to be weight. For me, I feel like I'm not doing it right if I'm not carrying the weight and the burden of what I'm living in and what I'm needing to eat and everything else on this journey. Now, I have slack packed before. I did on Mount St. Helens and I did on Mount Whitney. It doesn't save me a lot of weight. It doesn't really make me go faster. Just because I like my food so much, and one day of food is still a few pounds for me. So I still have a, you know, it would save me a couple pounds or whatnot, but then there's the whole logistics part, there's the financial part. I don't want to do any of that for me. But also the big reason, the most important reason, the majority of the reason is because just who I am, I feel like I should be carrying that weight along with me. Coming up the hills, going down the hills, and the flatland. Oh, and those times when you're right next to a reservoir, or reservoir. But anyway, some of the people, because I'm sure you'll see them in some of these videos sooner or later. There's Dozer and DoorDash, who I've talked to you about, and they've actually was in front of me one day when I was talking about them. Real nice guys. We've actually ended up in the same shelters and hostels a couple times. Then there's Navigator. He's from Russia. And let's see. Oh, there's Rambler. I just met him. But he I guess hikes with Navigator a lot. Really just kind of met them. Where was it? In Daleville, when I had to take those couple zeros. Met them there. And then you have Daddy Llama. I know you've heard me mention him. And then the Nomads, which is a husband and wife duo team, hiking team. So those are the ones that I run across quite a bit. Then there's Physics, of course. I think you've heard me talk about him. But I don't know if I'll see him again because, you know, we have different paces, of course. But more importantly, I guess he just got off trail to see his wife. So he might be, you know, a day or two behind me. But we'll all catch up. That's just kind of the way it works. I mean, unless, you know, the speeds and the amount of miles is just different. But if somebody's doing, you know, the same amount of miles, you're going to catch each other because sometimes you're going to take a zero when they're not, or a Nero when they're not. You might get into towns later or earlier than them, but a lot of times, you know, when you're in that group, I guess that kind of goes the same speed, is what I'm saying. I found that on the PCT a couple times. Never really stayed with any of them very long because obviously I do the YouTube videos, and you know, like you seen yesterday, some days I'm going to go 30. Some days I'm going to get to a pond at mile 11 or 12, whatever it was, and say, you know what, I'm just going to stay here now. I love the sun, and any chance I get to just lay out in the sun, I'm going to take that sometimes. I can't say any chance I get because I hike in the sun, so. But anyway, must be that time of day when I'm rambling. But it's kind of cool to, you know, have a few, I mean, we're all way ahead of the bubble, so there's not a whole lot of us out here at this, you know, juncture and miles marker, but looks like a lot of these guys and gal is doing the same amount of miles, or close to, on average, so I'm sure we'll all run into each other quite often, and maybe not, who knows. I get burrs, you know, in me, so burrs up my butt is what I was going to say. Sometimes where I just decide, you know, 25, 27, 29, 30, let's just do it, boom. And then that kind of puts me out of reach. But then again, there's other people that do that and then puts them out of reach of me. So we all have different speeds. We all have different ways of doing things. And that's what makes it awesome, is that there's so many different ways to do your hike. And I'm the type that I like the big long miles, big long days, not super fast hiker. But I definitely like the long days for the long miles, but still taking it all in every bit I can. So that's what we do, and hopefully I reflect that onto the screen so you all can do that with me, because that is the goal of this whole channel, is to help you live this journey with me. And here is the water that my heart desires. Nice flowing spots, nice and cold, plenty of it. The last few springs over the last few miles have been pretty dry. It's been hard to even get a trickle out of it, except for that river that I crossed on a suspension bridge, but it wasn't flowing really. It was, and I really like it when it's flowing. I don't know why, it seems purer and cleaner to me. So that's my spot. I mean, I wasn't out of water either. Came just at the right time, right before pushing up these mountains. So I'm gonna sit here and have some lunch at 10:30 in the morning. Oh, it's beautiful. Love it. I just filled my water up to filter over there. And there's this bird that's making a noise. And obviously with all the water noise, I can't tell where it's coming from, but it sounds like it's coming from over there somewhere. But it sounds just like a rotary phone. I'm like, why in the world am I hearing a rotary phone? Then I just thought I was going crazy, hearing noises in my head. And then as I walked away from the water, I could hear like, except higher pitch. Like, that's crazy. I've never heard a bird that has the sound of a rotary phone. That's awesome. I guess it's time to go conquer some mountains now. Whoa! All right, rest time is over. Playtime is over. It's been about 8 miles so far today. Took that early lunch at 10:30 and only about 900 feet of elevation. Not a whole lot. That's going to change now. Over the next 7 miles, it's 3,000 feet up. So I'm almost kind of regretting that I stopped early yesterday. Even though I loved it, that I stopped early and got some sun in and just got to rest out in the beautiful, peaceful area that shelter was. Almost kind of regretting it because I like to get the big climbs over first thing in the morning if I can. And here I am going to do a 3,000 foot climb around noon. And it's going to be a warm one today, so I'm going to be doing a lot of sweating. It's good, great workout, and I love to climb the mountains. But there's a little tiny part of me that says, we could have been doing that first thing this morning. But that's okay, because I'm living life. There's no rules, enjoying every minute, taking it all in, living life. I love when the trail follows right along a creek. Hear that flowing water. Very relaxing, refreshing too on a warm day. Very cruisy looking trail at this part. It is going up very gradually. I think it's went up 200 or 300 in the last 1 mile. Almost feels like you're not going up, and I'm not going to complain about that. I think that's going to change at the next intersection of a highway. So it's about 1,000 feet total from where I had the lunch to there, which was about 4 miles, I think. And about 3 miles from there to the top of the next mountain. And there's a total of 4,000, which means there's 3,000 left in that last 3 to 4 miles. So I think it's going to change a little there as far as the steepness. But as of right now, not too bad at all. I love this trail, and it's, I'm telling you, Virginia is getting a little more cruisy all the time. And I hear Shenandoah is known as the Boulevard. So we will see. I don't know, I might have some, record-breaking days for myself there. We'll see. One day at a time. We're not there yet. But up until then, we're going to keep conquering, keep cruising, keep getting those miles and those summits. I'm here walking and thinking about that last video clip and what I said. I'm like, man, that just doesn't sound right. 3,000 in 3 miles. I mean, it was a nice, good climb, but it wasn't steep like that. 22, 23% grade. It wasn't that. And then I realized, oh yeah, it was a total of 3,000 from where I ate my lunch. So 1,000 to that Highway 60 or whatever that intersection is, and then 2,000 past that. So 3 miles, 2,000. That's better. That's about 700. That's very, very similar to that climb I did, I don't know, 2 days ago, I guess. The day I went into Glasgow, where I started off the day with, you know, 4,000 of elevation within 9 or 10 miles. Very similar to that type of climb. Nothing bad, unless it's all rocks and it could slow me down a little bit, but nothing bad, just a good steady incline all the way up to about 4,200, I believe the elevation is on that first one, which I still don't know the name. I'll have to look that up by the time I get there. But see, as you can see, we're still walking across this creek, or alongside it. I don't know why I always say across. I mean alongside it. Getting ready to cross the bridge right now. Go across it to the other side, and then we start climbing that, I guess. About 15 miles in for the day. A lot of elevation in the last few miles. About 500 away from the summit of Bald Knob. And then there's another summit not too long after that. Up and down to another mountain. It's nice and warm. I have the shirt off. Getting those rays. Just too wet on the shirt, sweating through. And I like my vitamin D, so that's what I'm doing. Walking up this mountain, let's see, about 2,500 of it so far in the last few miles. So, been a good workout. Pretty much 700 a mile is pretty much the average that it's been doing. So nothing bad, not any scrambling, nothing, no steep steps or anything like that. Really just 700 up on dirt with some stones and roots once in a while. Pretty much keep that same steady pace all the way up. And lots and lots of water. Standing on the summit of Bald Knob. About a 3,000 foot climb and about 4 miles. You got some really good views off to this direction. Everything else up here on the summit is kind of enclosed with trees. But still beautiful regardless. And definitely beautiful on this drop off with the mountains in the background. And Bald Knob is in the bag. I am so hot and parched right now. I have water, but you know, the sun starts warming it up throughout the day. And I'm telling you, that right there just looks so cold and refreshing. Once I fill up 1 liter with some filtered water here, which I probably don't even need to filter it, since it's looks pretty darn clean and purified to me. But I'm probably going to guzzle that right down. Alright, I've stopped for the night. A couple miles short of where I was going to. I have a good reason though. For those of you who watch my videos and skip around and don't follow the whole story, you're missing a lot because I change my mind like the wind. You might think I'm doing one thing and then I'm going to do something completely different. But I've set up here at a shelter that's about actually a half a mile off the AT on a side trail. It's actually an old hotel trail, I believe it is. And right down here is like a little stream. And it's over here is the trail that goes down that way for like 3 miles. Don't really know what it's all about. Honestly, don't really care. It's an old hotel. Guess that's all I need to know. It's not there now. But I set up my tent over here. And I'm not saying anything bad about anyone who does care. It's just not my thing. I'm out here for nature and for the mountains. But anyway, I could have, what I was going to do was going to go past the next summit, a couple miles, set up camp. And I could have done that. It would have been nice. Would have been beautiful views. It is a bald, so there's no trees on the summit. There might be trees, but it doesn't cover the views. So it was going to be epic. Or I could stop 1 mile before the summit. See what I'm doing here? And then set up camp, eat my dinner, get up early, and hit that bald open summit of Coal Mountain for a sunrise. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hopefully get some epic photos and video of a sunrise on top of Coal Mountain. And it stretches for a long time. The summit actually goes on for a while, so it might be, some really good stuff. I'm hoping it is. A nice sunrise summit to start the day and put something in the bag 1 mile into the journey tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to do. Still had a good, strong day today. Really beautiful day, and I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow. I don't think there's really any chance of rain for a few days. It might be cloudy, though. It might be sunny. I don't really know that part, but I'm going to eat some grub, fill up on some calories, fill up on some fats, fill up on some protein, hit the sack in my tent, not the bag. Not going to hit the bag, going to hit the sack. And then get up early tomorrow and hopefully get some epic views on top of Coal Mountain. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you all out there on the trail tomorrow. Live life. So here's what's for dinner tonight. I have about a half a package left of the loaded baked mashed potatoes. So I have sour cream, cheese, onion, chives, butter, and bacon. Got some ramen noodles here, the beef flavor. So I'll put the beef flavoring in with it. And then I have quite a bit of pepperoni. And then I have the olive oil and 2 ketchup packets. So it's going to make a little bit of an Italian type of thing. A little tomato-y pasta, potato, pepperoni thing. When you mix, if you've never mixed ramen and mashed potatoes together, it just gives it a thicker texture. It's really good. It's hard to tell you're even eating mashed potatoes with it because it just makes the ramen thicker. But I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done, but that's what's for dinner. Alright, so here it is. And just in case you forget what I said, it's ramen, beef ramen noodles, pepperoni, loaded baked potato, mashed potatoes, 2 packets of ketchup, and olive oil. And that, my friends, is going to be one heck of a dinner. Let's see what it tastes like. That is Thru-Hiker delight right there.